So today we're going to talk about conflict. It is the price you pay for a deeper level of communication. We shouldn't avoid conflict, not that I'm looking for a fight,
Right.
but at the same time, I don't want to avoid a fight at all costs.
Yeah, because conflict happens. It's going to happen. And sometimes, of course, most of the time, it's painful. And we want to kind of avoid it, but it has some benefits. It's kind of like fire. You know, fire burns, which is the pain part, but it also sheds light. And so for a deeper level of communication, conflict is good because then you kind of get it out, then kind of hold it down, you get it out, and you get to the bottom of things, and you can resolve things if you do it right. And we want to teach you how to do it right.
Exactly, because you need to fight fair and you need to fight all the way through. So the first thing you need to understand about fighting or conflict resolution, as you want to call it, is the timing. So important. So a good way to remember that is with the word halt. And this is something that AA uses for conflict resolution as well.
Right.
And you do not want to try to resolve conflict if anyone in the situation is hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. Because what's going to happen is it's just going to escalate. You're not going to resolve it.
When you're hangry, right?
Yes, exactly. Snickers commercial.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you want to make sure that everybody's been fed. Nobody, you've had. If it's a hot topic, let everybody calm down a little bit. Lonely means someone feels isolated or they feel attacked. So let that resolve a little bit. And then tired, of course.
Right.
If somebody is sleepy, it's not the time to do it.
Right.
Get a cup of coffee or something
Wake
before
up.
you
Yeah.
start.
Get going.
So it's really important. HALT. H-A-L-T.
Right. And then sometimes you just need to, it's getting escalated, the conflict, the discussion, it's turned into a real fight, some things are starting to be said, and you just need to call a timeout. Just do the timeout, you know. It's important that the person who calls the timeout calls the time back in. Of course, sometimes you have to do it because, you know, you're about to walk into the relatives at Thanksgiving. Or for us,
Probably
you
not
know,
this time.
you're about to stand up and teach on marriage.
Yes.
Right. That, or, you know, say, okay, we'll sell this after we talk.
Driving into church, yes.
Driving into church, classic time. So you just got to call time out, say, okay, we'll talk about this later. This is something we need to talk about. We need to get resolved. This keeps coming up. Let's just call a time out and then come back.
But just like in sports, it is a specific period of time. You cannot call time out and never call time back in. Sometimes you need to put a time limit on it. Like, hey, we will talk about this at 8 o'clock after we've got the kids to bed. We'll talk about this again.
Right.
Be very specific in a time. It can't be 2 weeks down the road before you talk about it. So that's important. The next thing you need to understand is that there are things in conflict that you want to avoid.
Yeah.
The parrots call them the four horsemen of the apocalypse.
That's
okay?
right, yeah.
So you want to avoid these.
In fact, these things will actually be like pouring gasoline on a fire. They escalate things. They make things explode. The first one is criticism. Typical words in criticism is you always and you never. You know, in fact, typically what happens when people feel criticized, they just quit. They quit in the discussion. They quit at trying. And so criticism really can shut down good communication.
Or if you use always and never, if I say, you always forget to take out the trash, what is going to be the response?
No, I did it last week.
Exactly. So they're always going to think of that one time.
So yeah, it doesn't solve, it just escalates. It just causes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The next one is defensiveness.
Defensiveness.
Okay, so defensiveness is I was just fill in the blank. I was just kidding. I was just trying to help. I was just mad at the moment, whatever. A lot of times you'll see people that are trying to be defensive, they will throw up their hands, literally, like surrender. I didn't do anything. I didn't touch your keys. I didn't do that. So that anytime the nonverbals can be just as big of a sign of being defensive or trying to justify what you're doing. So that's one to avoid.
Right. Another one to avoid is contempt. This a lot of times actually has the body language of rolling your eyes and stuff like that. But you begin to say, the reason you're late is because you're lazy. Or the reason you're not doing this right is because you're stupid. You're actually contemptuous about what you're starting to diagnose them. You're starting to call them names.
You're belittling them.
That's right.
You're trying
That's
to
right.
make them
You're just
smaller.
Make them smaller, make yourself bigger, make yourself more important to win the battle.
Yeah.
Okay? And so this is diagnosing, and sometimes the name calling actually turns into cussing. And of course, that just is a huge escalator.
Yes, it is. And the fourth one is stonewalling. So stonewalling is just exactly what it sounds like. A lot of times you'll see the body language, the crossed arms, they might walk out, totally leave. And if the person that is talking at the time, the one gets walked out on, well, there might be something in their past that triggers. Maybe a parent walked out on them at one time, or another spouse, or another boyfriend or girlfriend. And so if that happens, then that hurts them deeply, and it's going to escalate the conflict.
That's right. That's
So
right.
it's really important not to stonewall. If you need to walk away, you need to tell them, hey, I need a timeout. I'll be back soon. Or, hey, I need to go and walk around the block. Whatever it is, that's fine, but you need to give them a heads
Yeah,
up.
you just don't want to quit. You want
Right.
to keep working on the conflict until you get some new solutions.
Exactly.
Let's look at some scripture just that kind of speaks a lot about this. Ephesians 4:29 through 32. It says, "Do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths." Again, that's kind of like cussing and some of the things that we belittle people. "But only that which is helpful for building others up according to their needs, that it may benefit those who listen. And do not grieve the Holy Spirit of God, with whom you are sealed for the day of redemption." Here's some things that it says to get rid of. Get rid of all bitterness, rage, and anger, brawling and slander, along with every form of malice. Those things that are already there, if you get rid of them, then they won't help you. They'll help you get rid of the conflict. And it says, overall, be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other, just as in Christ God forgave you. You know, we've got to forgive, and we've got to let some things go and get rid of some things so it doesn't keep us in conflict.
Right, it doesn't keep coming up. So the other one is 2 Peter, and it's 2 Peter 3, 8 through 12. It says, "Finally, all of you should be of one mind. Sympathize with each other. Love each other as brothers and sisters. Be tender-hearted and keep a humble attitude. Don't repay evil for evil. Don't retaliate with insults when people insult you. Instead, pay them back with a blessing. That's what God has called you to do, and He will grant you His blessing. For the scriptures say, if you want to enjoy life and see many happy days, keep your tongue from speaking evil and your lips from telling lies. Turn away from evil and do good. Search for peace and work to maintain it. The eyes of the Lord watch over those who do right, and His ears are open to their prayers. But the Lord turns His face against those who do evil." So if you want to have God's blessings, if you want to be happy, then you need to be sure that you're speaking in a way that you're speaking to brothers and sisters. You want to be kind. You want your words to be kind. So it's important to do that.
Yeah, just good manners is real important.
Exactly. So the next thing we want to talk about is know your animal. And basically, we learned this years ago.
It's kind of a fighting style.
Yes, it's your fighting style. And we learned this years ago from the ARPS. And it's been so great over the years to continue to remember what my fighting animal is, so to speak, and what Mark's is and how that works together. So basically, we're going to go through some animals. You might want to write them down. And we're going to talk about how they react in a conflict. So the first one is a turtle. So how does a turtle react in conflict?
They pull in the shell.
Exactly.
They
Pulls
get
everything
away
in.
to
Pulls
protect themselves.
They pull everything in. And the interesting thing about a turtle is they don't put anything out until they are totally safe. So this is the person who pouts. They go run and hide maybe. They just pull in and they don't say anything. They're quiet. I can tend to be a turtle a little bit because I'm plotting your death. So I want to be quiet and I want to be by myself, right? But sometimes they will check the water. A turtle will stick like their tail out, but if they sense any danger, they pull right back in. So that is the person who just pulls in and kind of pouts, okay? That's the turtle. The next one is a skunk. So think about the little skunk. He's so cute, Pepe Le Pew, right? The skunk, when faced with danger, turns around and sprays. And nobody likes to be sprayed by a skunk, correct? And what's funny is in the wild, I used to watch little Disney films when we were in elementary school, and I can remember they would show the skunk spray, and then they scamper off like a little cat or something. You're like, you just sprayed and nearly killed something, and no problem, they just walk away. Well, the skunk in a human is one who comes in and sprays the anger all over the room, walks out, and they're fine. They are totally
They're
cool.
over it.
Yeah,
They're
they're over it. And the
Everybody
rest
else
of the
in the
room.
wiping it out.
Yeah, do you want to tell
Dealing
people
with
that you live with a skunk?
Sometimes that happens, and I'll bring it up days later and you go, huh? What? Oh, I'm over that. Yeah, but I'm still wiping it out of my eyes, right? I'm still dealing with it, yeah.
Exactly. Sorry about that. So the next one is a chameleon. And a chameleon, we know, is famous for changing colors. They change and blend in with their circumstances. This is...
They don't resolve conflict.
No, and this is probably one of, not that any of them are more dangerous than others, except I would say the chameleon is more dangerous because they always yield. They always give in. They always say, oh no, whatever you want, that's fine. Years ago, we used to have a phrase and we called it going postal. And it was when a postal worker who did the same thing and was very calm would all of a sudden come in and shoot everybody in the post office. It's one of those situations where they might walk away from a marriage of 45 years and nobody saw it coming. Just one day, I'm done, I'm out, and they're gone. And there's no explanation, there's no discussion about it.
They just kept yielding and yielding until they had enough and they walked away.
It's like pushing the beach ball down and it popped out of the water and now it's gone. So be careful if you're a chameleon, that's a tough one. Gorilla. Now gorillas in the wild, when they face conflict, they get really big and they get loud. Yes, they bang their chest and they get loud because they're trying to let the enemy know they're bigger than they are. Okay, so they're trying to win. A gorilla in a human, in a fighting style, is somebody who wants to win at all costs. They just keep going and going and going. They need to have the last word.
And even halfway through, they may discover, hey, I'm wrong, but no, they're not going to admit that. They're just going to keep going because they're going to win.
Exactly, exactly. And that can be really dangerous. Now, I'm not saying that they beat on people. I'm not saying necessarily they're screamers, but they can be.
Yeah.
And so that's another one, just be cautious of that and conscious of that.
Right.
The other one is the owl. Now, the owl, living here in Houston, we have the rice owls. Why are they the owls? Because it's a symbol of wisdom.
Wisdom, the wise old owl.
There's wise old owl in Pooh and in Bambi. And so it's just a symbol. In the Tootsie Roll commercial, I do like that guy.
Yeah.
So the owl is wisdom. The way this comes out in conflict is somebody will say, well, if you'd have done it this way, you wouldn't have that problem. Or if you were, basically what they're saying is, if you were as smart as I am, you wouldn't have that issue. And so they're the person who minimizes and maximizes their knowledge, minimizes the other person and maximizes their knowledge.
Right.
So that one can be a difficult one too. All of them are difficult to deal with, but here's the deal. Most of us are combos.
Yeah.
It depends on the situation. It depends on the person they're in conflict with. And they will be a combo. So, for example, I'm a combo skunk turtle. That's me. So, what would you want to
I'm a growl. I'm a gorilla owl. I want to win. And a lot of times I'll intellectualize. I'll just keep going and going until you understand my way. Because if you understood that my way was the right way, you would give in and I would win.
I don't.
Yeah, so again, that's the way conflict happens. We fight this way.
Exactly.
We have our styles.
You have your style. And it's kind of interesting because it's freeing. When we studied this and learned it, then we were able to kind of step beyond that.
Yeah.
I came out of my shell and realized I can't do that. You cannot do that, Susan. You can't just pull in and not talk about it. On the other hand, you can't spray the room and not give the room a chance to speak back to you.
Right. And as a gorilla, I can't just keep coming at her. I got to give her some time. I got to let her feel safe. Let us all calm down, take a time out maybe, and then come back and talk about the conflict and how to talk about the conflict.
Exactly.
And so that's what we want to teach you. We want to teach you how to talk. We got a formula for that.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
It's XYZ formula.
Yeah.
And so
in situation X, when you do Y, I feel Z.
Right.
Okay? It's not you make me so mad. It's not that. It's in situation X, when you do Y, I feel Z.
Right. And this actually is a great tool that works in any situation. I mean, as a parent, if you got two children fighting each other, you can go, okay, stop talking. In situation X, you ask, okay, what happened in situation X? Oh, and the other person tries to add their side. Oh, wait. How did that make you feel? How do you make that feel? Okay. Do you understand how it made him feel? Okay. And so in situation X, when you did this, this is how it made you feel. And then you let the other person share their side. And usually, by the time people kind of start to understand, get to the feeling level, they go, oh, you've clarified the content, like we said the first time, and you've reflected feeling. You're actually helping each other do that. And so this is, in situation X, when you do Y, I feel this way.
Because most people just want their message heard. In a conflict, they want to get their time in the limelight. And it's a validation process, because validating, they say that just validating someone's feelings can actually get rid of about 85% of all conflicts. I mean, that's pretty high. And it's just a matter of just calming down the situation. Michael Smalley tells a story that is so great about validating someone's feelings. He was at home on a Sunday afternoon, somebody's banging at his door. He goes to the door, there's a woman, and she's got frozen peas on her face, and she's yelling at him and saying, "That dog of yours needs to be on a chain." And he's like, "Okay." And she said, "The dog was in the middle of the street, and I had to veer off, went into the ditch, hit my face on the side of the door, and you need to do something about that dog." And he was like, "Wow, that must have been really scary for you." He goes through, and when he
Starts
says that,
validating the emotions, yeah.
and she starts calming down. She takes the peas off her face, and he's like, "Wow, I can see how that upset you. I agree with you. That dog
must have hurt.
Yeah, that must have hurt. That dog, there needs to do something about the dog." All this, he just keeps doing it. She finally goes, they get to a rational conversation, and she goes, "Well, I really appreciate you, listening to me." She starts walking off the porch, and he says, "Ma'am, can I say one thing?" And she says, "Sure." And he goes, "That's not my dog." So it's like he just validated her, but he did go on to say, he said, "I know whose dog it is. Here's his number." And then he didn't say anything.
He said, my kids play with that dog. I understand how you could
Yeah, because the dog's at my house all the time.
Yeah.
So later he gets a phone call from his dad going, "This lady just called and chewed me out about my dog." And he's like, "Really? That's kind of scary, Dad," because it was his dad's dog, and he gave her his dad's number. But the whole thing is the validating, calm the situation.
Right.
That's all you need
Get
to do.
That feeling level.
So we're going to teach you another skill
Right.
that we have learned actually from Michael and Amy Smalley as well,
Yeah.
called drive-through talk. Now, Susan sometimes slips up and calls it drive-by talk, which is not the same thing. That's a
Not
little
drive-by
bit-
shooting.
No.
Drive-by
It's
talk.
drive-through
Think
talk.
drive-through window, think Chick-fil-A again.
Yes.
And so, and again, it's kind of weird when you first start doing
is
this.
very
But you're
uncomfortable.
doing the X, Y, Z. In situation X, when you feel, when in situation,
X, when you do Y.
when you do Y, I feel Z. So you gotta do that. And so we're gonna do a conflict that we've had. We still have to kind of go through this sometimes. It is a classic conflict that most people have about a driving incident we did. So
Yes. So,
Susan is the receiver, and I'm sharing a conflict. So okay, can we talk about
Yeah.
something?
okay, so it's a great day at Chick-fil-A.
Yeah. How can I serve you?
How can I serve you?
Yeah,
Right.
okay. So,
No, we don't actually say that, but we do say, "Hey, I can see there's something going on. How can I help?"
yeah. So, and I'm saying we need to talk about a conflict. Okay. So the other day, when I was driving, the kids were in the back seat, and we're going to the mall, and we're going down the Beltway, and the entrance to my next turn, the other highway, was coming up, and you said, "Get over, you're gonna miss the turn." That really made me feel bad.
Okay, so you felt bad when I pointed out that the turn was coming up?
Yeah, I felt bad about that, but at the same time, I kind of felt disrespected because the kids are in the back seat. They were listening. In fact, later at the mall, when the kids didn't listen to me, I went back to that. I went back to, Susan wasn't respecting me in front of the kids, and now the kids are not listening. They're not respecting me. So.
Okay, so you feel disrespected when I correct you in front of the kids in the car?
Yeah.
Okay.
And, a lot of times we have this conflict, when we're driving. You're telling me to do something or that. So that's a conflict. So let me.
Okay, so
then we change hats.
And then we would change hats.
It's my
and
turn.
Talk about that.
Okay, so let me hear your side of it.
Okay. So when you wait until the last minute to switch lanes, it scares me because there's car. I'm sitting on that side that you're going into that right lane, And so I'm like, oh my gosh, there's
So-
a car there, I'm gonna get hit, so it scares me.
So when I wait to the last minute to change lanes, or when I don't identify that, it actually scares you?
Yes, because I'm thinking I'm gonna be the one killed, so, or the kids will be hurt.
The kids too, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can see that's why the voice goes up and that, okay.
Okay.
So we've
So we
said
would
the
stop.
feelings, we've done the validation, we've done all that, and we're able then to kind of start brainstorming some ideas and some solutions, you know? It's like, we started coming with some things. So, you know, I do little things now after we've talked this out, is, you know, I say, okay, I see my turn's coming up, I'll get over as soon as that car, because a lot of times she's not seeing in the mirror what I'm seeing, right? And so we talk about that. Sometimes she drives, you know, sometimes we talk about, sometimes we talk about the way we're going, you know, the direction, the path we're going there.
Yeah.
So that's a good way to walk through, just using the drive-through with you, X, Y, Z. Do that, and that will help you to kind of talk through some of the emotions, and then you can get the emotions out of the way and brainstorm some possible solutions to your reoccurring conflicts.
And one of the things that you don't do is bring up something else. If I went to Chick-fil-A today, I wouldn't say I'd like tacos, because they would say we don't have tacos. Well, Jack in the Box has tacos. I want tacos. Well, then you need to go to Jack in the Box. That wouldn't make sense. And so it's the same in conflict resolution. You stay on task, you stay on topic, and you do not bring up the past or another event.
Because that's a defensive move, that
Right.
you try to change topics to get it off of you. No, get to the bottom of this conflict, you'll shed some light, you'll get some understanding,
Right.
and that'll help resolve the conflict in the future.
And once you've done this, it becomes a habit, and then you can resolve conflict very quickly using this method. At first, it is very awkward, I will say. It's very awkward. But a couple of things, remember halt, so don't be hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. Be comfortable, be in a spot where you're comfortable, and be in a spot where you can't be interrupted. So the kids are in bed, or you're alone, or whatever, but, you know, make it where there's no interruptions and everybody is on the same page, because it's not fair. That's not fighting fair if somebody's at a lesser value.
Right.
So that is how you fight fair. We hope that we've helped you, and you know, it's always great to make up. So don't avoid the fights.